Last week at Collingwood's training, Nathan Buckley introduced 4 young defence veterans who have served or are serving their country. When Matt Keane was the age that Darcy Moore is now, Matt's captain made an announcement from the bridge of a warship.
He just halted everyone on the bridge and said, "Oh, I've just got off the phone to John Howard. And John Howard's just spoken to George Bush. In approximately 30 minutes we'll be at war with Iraq."
Chris May was 20 years old when his dreams were shattered.
I was wounded in action in 2011 by a roadside bomb blast.
Whereabouts?
In Afghanistan.
The sacrifices made by our defence men and women put the tribulations of footy in perspective, and Buckley wanted his players to hear from the young veterans.
You see the players were absolutely taken by what they were hearing because it's just so different to what we know.
Matt, Chris and Flight Lieutenants Dee Cherry and Kate Kennedy are part of a group called Young Veterans, formed to help fellow ex-service people.
So the purpose of Young Veterans is to go out and engage with the veterans in the communities. They feel isolated and they feel like they're not being a part of the community. So it's up to us to get out there and actually engage with the veterans and tell them there is help available.
The younger veterans these days, they don't want to be like the old blokes seen drinking beer. They want to be active, they want to have active lifestyles, they want to keep their mind healthy. It doesn't matter whether they're injured or not, they want to get out there and do stuff, you know. So we try and engage them by doing 4 drive trips, sailing trips. We walk around the park, chat stuff out.
The biggest issue is probably the public's awareness when it comes to what a veteran is.
They seem to believe it's an old man's war. They look at the old diggers marching on ANZAC Day and think, oh, it's, you know, they're 80, 90-year-old veterans serving their country, and this is the day to remember them every year, when they don't understand that there's a whole new generation and then all the generations before them that have come through.
Does that generation feel a bit unloved?
Yes, definitely. The younger contemporary veterans do feel a bit unloved. Last year I was approached by some people and I hadn't had it happen for a long time, and they said, oh, you know, where did your grandfather serve? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, oh, you're wearing the medals on your left-hand side. And I said, oh, they're my medals. If we're wearing them on our left-hand side, they're our medals. If I was going to wear my grandfather's, these are the ones on the right-hand side. And they're like, oh, you look too young to be a veteran.
Last year, Flight Lieutenant Kate Kennedy was deployed to the Middle East for 6 months. She shares joint custody of 2 young sons.
I've received some criticism and judgment, leaving behind 2 children who are 5 and 7, and it was tough.
Why did you want to serve?
I'm very patriotic and I had that drive. I wanted to be part of something that really mattered in the world.
When I was returned back to Australia, I was diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, a severe back injury including a fractured neck, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety and depression. In 2012, I attempted suicide in my own life. I lost a relationship, I lost my job, and I was down on my knees and down on my luck. And through the treatment that I got, I was able to recognise that we need to stand up as veterans, and we need to start working together to help each other and stand side by side and work together. So I've come today from the RSL to speak to you about the importance of ANZAC Day and what it all means. I was in the Army up until about 6 weeks ago, and I left after 10 years in the Army. Now I spend most of my time working and then also studying, as well as helping veterans in the community, answering late night phone calls of people that are in a position that I was in some 7 years ago. You can be an airplane mechanic and wear the same uniform as Kate.
Talking to school groups, Chris likes to challenge children's perceptions of what makes a veteran.
And it acknowledges that you served and that you may have hurt yourself.
Every year it feels like we're getting less and less recognition. So ANZAC Day has been, you know, to the point where sometimes I haven't turned up nearly or I haven't marched. You don't feel like you're part of the parade, you don't feel like you want to march because of that.
Because you're too young?
Yeah, because you're too young. People just look at you and go, oh, you're not a veteran, you're not old enough.
When they came to Collingwood last week, the 4 young veterans were well received by players and coach.
And all I ask is that they just support us. You know, we aren't the politicians, we don't make the decisions. We go because we love our country. So, you know, support the soldier.
I sacrificed 6.5 months of my children's lives. I missed milestones. We all sign up on that dotted line, and we are prepared to make our own sacrifices and put ourselves in danger for the greater good.
When people come up to you in the street, shake your hand, look you in the eye and say thanks for your service, then that makes it all worthwhile. All of the trauma that they go through at times and all the sacrifices that are made, yeah, we should never forget that.